thank you for staying, and thank you all for being here with us today. We've already had, hello, the first part of this dual conversation. And I was wondering what all four of you were thinking when you were listening to the previous speakers. And I would like to start with a question that I've already posed before. How has your research changed because of the changing world that we live in? Is there more of a focus on defense right now? Or is it more on energy? Is it on nuclear? Is it on hydrogen? Is it on unmanned systems? How has your work changed, basically, and how do you see it evolving? And Monsieur Molina, let's start with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me here. At CNRS, actually, we are covering, well, we are quite a large research center. I think that's the largest in Europe. It's very big, so it's covering all the topics from science, from social science to space, energy, physics, biology, etc. And it's a basic science institute, basically, from its origin, but as well, it's doing a lot of innovation. So it's already in between research and transferring this research to innovation companies, etc., etc. We have a lot of what we call LabCom, which are mixed laboratory in between CNRS and industry to transform this research, basic research, into innovation. So this already exists. But what has changed today, it's that we realized that we were as well in Europe, and that was a surprise for CNRS actually. We realized last year, after a European study, that we were the biggest provider of defense research in Europe. We don't even knew it ourselves, right? It's probably because we are big. But what changed for us, it's we realized that we were a part of the sovereignty of France, basically because we are, as it was said previously, grounding the differential advantage of France and Europe using research to transform it into an advantage for defense, for instance, and it's true for all the country, as it was said. And so we have a responsibility because we are a part of this sovereignty by grounding the science of all this transformation. So now we realize that instead of leaving that growing like flowers in a field, you know, we are going to grow that intensively and with a bit more methodology. And so that's what changed at CNRS, and when we create this a new cell that we call dual research cell, which is on the presidency of CNRS, is because we need to have a focal point where all the research related to dual use will go through these cells and will be accelerated, because we think that the society must be very agile in transforming the knowledge, the capacity of science into something useful for the society, including sovereignty. And sovereignty does not mean only defense, it means as well sovereignty of the nation. So we include not only defense work, that we do a lot, but as well humanities, grounding the resilience of a population, for instance. We have a lot of issues on brain colonization through many aspects. And this is taking into account climate change is an issue of sovereignty as well, and defense. And we have a lot of interaction, for instance, for all these aspects, and from technology, space to humanities, with the Agency of Innovation for Defense in France. And we work in tight relationship with them in order to transfer all this knowledge. And recently, with Arctica crisis, we join and gather all forces from research, innovation companies, and defense in order to face the problem. And not only at the French level, but at the European level too.
Face it in what way?
Working and acting at this place means having knowledge, diplomatic knowledge, how to handle the populations, technical knowledge, how to live there, how to act there, how to be sustainable there if something happens, how to deal with new routes opening sometimes in a year, which were not happen in the past. The political issues locally, all this knowledge, from diplomatic knowledge to scientific knowledge to observation, technology and power, has to be put all together as a kind of multimodal acting. And so we are there to sustain and to support the governmental actions, bringing knowledge, sometimes technology, but as well just to support the sovereignty of the nation.
Yeah, I was just thinking that...
And this is new for CNRS.
Yeah.
In the brain, I mean, in the mindset. The mindset of a researcher is to do basic science.
Yeah.
So our message is don't change anything. Do your basic science, but just think differently. Your basic science is very important for knowledge, aggregating knowledge for humanity, for sure. But as well transforming that when you can for population when it's needed. So don't change anything. That's our message.
But
but think.
Yeah, and the culture, but I suppose what needs to change a bit, or what is changing a bit, is the culture, that we need a multidisciplinary cooperation to face the challenges of the present. And just a short follow-up question before I move to the other speakers. You said that last year you realized that you had the most extensive defense research in Europe, but does that mean that you had more than enough, or that everyone else does a little?
No, we still need. Well, there are topics and domains where we don't need to do anything because people know each other, the partner are knowing each other, working well together, and delivering very well. So we don't need to do anything in this domain and topics. And there are other domains where we have strong science, and they don't exchange with the companies and military actors. So we help them. So we create human channels, knowledge and support, financial support, but not only financial support, channels. We provide to our, so for instance, CNRS worked with a lot of companies, as I was saying, but a lot of companies are not from the defense domain, but they have a lot of innovation, very interesting for defense, but not even the Ministry of Defense know them because they are not in the same field, blah, blah, blah. So we act as a mediator in between these actors. We did that last week during the Observatory and Vivatech place in Paris, for the technology congress, international congress. And there at night we create a B2B, special B2B restraint in between companies which are not from defense and Innovation Agency for Defense in France. And that was very productive. CNRS was in the middle. We know each other, how to work together. And this channel from science, knowledge, innovation companies, and users must be very fluid.
So you mean that you're involved in so many different sectors of the process, which is why it's not that other European partners or that other European institutions are not doing a lot of research. It's just that
No.
So they could be doing more.
Yeah, we can do more, and more with European partner as well, because historically that wasn't the case. Defense was something very French. Some European partners were working with us, but it was point by point. So now we realize together, and it was said before, that Europe is a good field to work together. So we want to create consortium. And that's why I'm here, actually. It's because I need to have more international relationship. We have international lab at CNRS. We don't have a lot in Greece.
Yeah.
Why that? Because we work a lot with laboratory in Greek. Actually, the science in Greece is a very high level. I used to work a lot with scientists, Greek scientists. But for a reason I don't know, we don't have joint lab. So these joint labs are not better than others, but they are channels where everything goes quicker than other places.
Yeah, of course.
And so we need to create these kind of channels much more right now than it used to be in the past. So we need human channels in order to foster science, and not only money.
You're right. This is why it's important that all of you are here today, and that something like this happens, so that in public we all get to know that we don't have these channels right now. Well, we probably should. Thank you very much. And well, Mr. Tzortzakis, for how long have you been the head of ELKAK?
help of science, you know.
We're good.
Partnership.
We're good to sell technology, not use it. Let's go there. Thank you for the question. I'm since the first day. In fact, I'm the founder and CEO of the
Remind
ELKAK.
me, what year did it start?
Yeah, ELKAK means it's the Hellenic Center of Defense Innovation. You know, in my life, always I like the risk. So I took the first risk creating the first spin-off in Greece back on 95. And the company became listed, and from 1 person to 1,000 people, and from 0 revenue to $500 million revenue. So at that point, internet was a forbidden word in Europe in general. In France, they are working with Minitel. In Greece, they didn't want to move to the internet, and a lot of open issue as far as the internet at that point. So with people at that, I remember from Montpellier, from CNRS, who have been working very closely in order to promote and bring internet in Europe, and I'm happy that finally Europe followed that approach. So what I want to say with that the two words, civilian and defense, it's full interconnected, and one works for the other. And I will explain that in two different ways. The first way is that the defense market always it's going to be a small market compared to civilian market. So that means that if you are focused just on the defense market, you have certain limitation to face. Defense, the civilian market, it's a much bigger market. So, for example, in our country, being the major civilian shipping industry in all over the world, it will be stupid not to work on dual use on Navy and trying to combine the defense with the civilian use. So it's extremely important. And don't forget, just one more word, that President Roosevelt, when the condition in Europe was very bad, France was under occupation, the most of Europe was under occupation, Greece was in a big issue, and finally under occupation. At that point, President Roosevelt, what it did, it created the Science Technology Office in the White House. And who was the head of that Science and Technology Office? The previous dean of MIT. So he gave them a very clear mandate. Use the science, use the technology, use the research in order to win the war. And thanks God, as a West civilization, we win the war. So that's the reason I want to say that these two words, it's full interoperable, full interchangeable, and we have to see them as one approach with two different, let's say, customer base.
In what sense, different customer base?
Of course, the needs of the defense, it's different. And the needs of the civilian market, it's different. But I want to say...
The science can be the same.
Yeah. When you start, I mean, let me use the technology readiness level that I like always to say. 1, it's idea. 9, it's a product, or almost a product. 1 to 3, it's research. The 1 to 3, it's a common ground for everybody, whatever you are going to do, defense or whatever you are going to do civilian use. So 1 to 3, common. 4 to 6, it's almost common, which is validation. And then you go to 7 to 9, that, okay, at that point, you take a little bit different route. But saying that from the 9 level of creating a product, the 6, it's almost common in the two words.
I'm sorry, I was wondering whether the Secretary General had a comment that you would like to make, because I saw that when shipping was mentioned, you had some sort of a reaction.
Yeah, so it so happens I'm opinionated on this. So we do have, I fully agree with the ELKAK CEO about shipbuilding. I think we should extend this to a bigger range compared to what we currently plan. So in my opinion, we should be building a range of ships, our technologies for a range of ships, and not for small size ships, which is the dominant approach currently. We have had this dialogue with Mr. Georgiadis in private, and I will insist on this from my corner. So yes, shipbuilding has a lot of potential for Greece. We should have been one of the, let's say, dominant players in certain markets. You know, shipbuilding and MRO, which is maintenance, repair and overhaul, rebuild, upgrade of ships, is a market which is globally about 150 billion euros a year. And part of this market, which is about 50 billion euros, could be reached by a serious Greek shipyard. Which part? Of course, we cannot sell ships to China or to United States or to certain other countries, but we can sell ships or upgrade ships for Europe, Africa, certain countries, Middle East, certain Asia countries, Latin America, where used ships are already being sold by companies like Dutch, or by the Dutch Navy and so on. So that part is about 50 billion euros a year. Mm-hmm. And we should be going after this market to get a few percentage points per year. So if we could get, let's say, 2 percentage points from these 50 billion euros, it's 1 billion euros per year for the Greek naval industry.
Well, why aren't we?
Because we don't have a shipyard that has gone after this market yet. So and I believe there should be a cooperation between the three biggest Greek shipyards to achieve this. But that's a big discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Secretary General. Do you agree with that? Is that why we haven't done it yet, or do we lack the tech as well? And not just when it comes to ships. I mean, what other dual uses would you want to see be developed in Greece?
It's both. I mean, I fully agree with the General Secretary, but the condition is that when you have a child who is 1 year old, you could not put some pharmaceutical pills and make it 20 years ago in 2 years. You need the necessary time to grow this capability. And unfortunately in Greece, we don't have that capability. So I think we have to start building that capability and do it intensively. But at the same time, there are a lot of other things that we have to think about the new world that come.
Like what?
For example, Horizon has a lot of projects on smart design of boat. EDF has a lot of different that has to do with automation and all this kind of thing, and autonomy, and how the autonomy is going to be integrated to a ship and all this kind of thing. Naval has done an excellent job on that and interconnecting the USV, the UAV, and the UUV. But at the end of the day, the most important will be, as a country, to have the possibility, the USV and UUV to leave from frigate and move to the armaments, to the military camps, and from the military camps to move to airplane, and trying to have a kind of integrated system that, for example, if you have a fight in an island, in Crete, let's say, I'm from Crete, that's the reason I use Crete. So if you have a fight in Crete, it may be necessary the frigate to give access with a USV and to the ground group, to the ground army forces to see what's going on.
So that's not possible right now in Greece?
At this point, it's possible in a company base, and not all of them. Naval was one of them. But it will be important for us to have it at a national level and to have interchange with different with different contractors. For example, it's not possible to have 10 different UAV with 10 different console, with 10 different training center, with 10 different. So we have to go.
It needs to be coordinated on a.
It has to be full integrated and full to the end user. It should be the same thing. It depends on who has produced that.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, we will never achieve economies of scale. We will never achieve all the things that this kind of federated networks it will create for everybody. So it's extremely important to work at the same time on smart ship design, working at the same time on electronics and autonomy, on AI, and on all the ingredients that finally create the results. Sure. So as an ELKAK, just to say a couple of words, we are working very close with the SINX branch. We try to detect and sense the needs, the operation needs of the defense forces, and we try to do this defense needs in a product. So the product could be, it has to be sometimes that you have to go very depth in the research part, or in the validation part, or in exploitation part. So we're doing all of the three of them. And another important thing that I think that on my second round I will give more words on that, is that in Europe, we think as European, but we act national. And that creates a fragmentation. And the fragmentation is not guarantee the security of supply chain. So I think at EDF level, we're looking technology superiority, but the technology superiority is not the one that is going to win a war. The supply chain, it's equally important, and at this point, there is a mismatch. We don't know in Europe who does motor. We don't know in Europe who is very good on AI. We don't know all this. And at the end of the day, EDF and EDA has to concentrate these things and to coordinate, because I think we have to do, saying AI, it's a sexy word. Everybody wants to work on AI. At the same time, if you don't have a motor, the UAV, it's not going to fly. Yeah. So we have in Europe to work in a kind of balance.
So we should focus on the basics as
but
well.
in order to do that, we have to think European and act European. And so far, whatever the political people they say, we have achieved the first. The second, no.
Well, thank you very much. That is a strong statement, and we will come back to that. But Mr. Basilakos, how has your research changed in the past few years? Maybe also to serve both what Mr. Tzortzakis has been describing about the European culture of thought, but also in terms of specifically in terms of defense and anything that has to do with the sector, from energy to AI.
Okay, so before I start, I would like to say that it is an honor for the National Observatory of Athens to participate in this meeting. And actually, at this point, I would like to relate our research center with your initial question regarding applied research, defense, etc. So you have to know that the National Observatory of Athens is the first public research center in Greece. Actually, it was formed in 1842 after the liberation of Greece from the Ottomans. Currently, it includes 3 research institutes, namely the Institute for Environmental Research and Sustainable Development, the Institute for Astronomy, Astrophysics, Space Applications and Remote Sensing, and the Institute of Geodynamics. So the main scope actually of our research center is to perform basic and applied research in the areas which are covered by our institutes. And on top of that, various research teams of our research center have the ability to convert applied research to high-quality services, which are used actually by the civil protection authorities and international organizations like NASA, European Space Agency, etc. So, in general, having said that, in today's shifting geopolitical and environmental landscape, the boundary between purely civilian and strategic defense research is increasingly blurred, specifically in the fields of geospace, space applications, secure communications, Earth observation, etc. And if you want, I can say some things in these areas. So,
Sure, I would like that actually, because I mean I've heard space, for example, being mentioned in a lot of conversations like ours, and you're always wondering as a civilian, at the end of the day, what does it have to do with anything?
Okay. So I'll give you some examples in brief, of course. So, first of all, I'd like to say that in 2020, the National Observatory of Athens was selected by the European Space Agency to become the first ground station Helmos Observatory. Helmos Observatory is located near the small city of Kalavrita in Peloponnese. And there we have, Helmos Observatory accommodates Aristos telescope, which is the largest telescope in the Balkans, by the way. So in 2020, we were selected by the European Space Agency to become the first ground station in the context of the so-called Skylight project, aiming to use laser or quantum phenomena, if you like, as fibers in the sky. So actually, in 2021, we managed to establish the first optical link between Helmos Observatory and AlphaSat satellite, which is far away from, if you remember well, the distance is 36,000 kilometers away from the Earth. We're talking about AlphaSat satellite is one of the largest European satellites. So we exchange information using laser communications instead of the traditional, waves, radio waves. So, following this path, later last year, we have established another major collaboration with NASA and under the supervision of the European Space Agency, aiming to establish the deepest optical link between Helmos and Krioneri astronomical station. We have also another astronomical station at Krioneri in Corinth, with the satellite, with the spacecraft, which is called Psyche in Greek, and we did manage to establish the deepest optical link in space.
So the information that derives from that optical link, who gets it?
We send this laser from Krioneri, for example, to the satellite. The satellite recognizes this signal and it responds. It responds and it sends back this laser to Helmos Observatory. So with this process, we are exchanging information, data, and just to give you an example, we managed to exchange data which is the capacity is close to 3 gigabits/second, which is a huge capacity.
But then the Helmos Observatory has this data. Who do they share it with?
Okay, potentially. This is, this is the first step. I mean, we did this experiment just to show that we can use this technology in order to, to exchange data. So the second step is to use, this technology is to deliver this technology for defense, to commercial stuff, etc. And also, I would like to mention that the second pillar, and if you want, I can, I don't want to monopolize the discussion, but I can say some things later if you like. But the second pillar that we are dealing with is the so-called SST and SSA. SSA means Space Situational Awareness, and SST means Space SST Space Situation. Oh no, it is the fact that we are trying to detect, to observe the trajectories of the satellites. So the tracking, orbital modeling and behavioral analysis of near-Earth objects constitute a critical component for the security of European space infrastructure. And according to the decision of the National Observatory of Athens Board of Directors and the involved ministries, the National Observatory of Athens has the role of the SST National Operations Center. Through our telescopes, we provide these data to the European authorities, to European Operations Center, and from there, they take.
But now, if this new project starts with NASA, we will provide them to NASA as well.
Oh, yes, of course.
But then, what happens if the U.S. is not allied to Europe anymore?
Okay, this is another issue. We provide this data to NASA and to the European space agencies. So we have signed MOUs with these agencies. So we are closely collaborating in these areas. So this is something that, also I'd like to say that the strategy of no administration also, this is very important, and I'd like to say that, is to convert Krionero Observatory in Corinth to the largest space hub in the southeastern Mediterranean. And actually, in order to do that, we have already secured funding, and this funding comes from three different directions. First, we have 4.3 million euros from the regional government of Peloponnese for building, for new buildings there. Sure. Second, we have 10.8 million euros from the European Recovery Fund. The Secretary General is here for buying state-of-the-art, equipment and setting this equipment there. We're going to have a new robotic telescope, new antennas, everything. Wow. And 1.2 million euros from the General Secretariat for Telecommunications for reconstructing the whole network there. According to the master plan, this hub will be ready in at the end of 2027, early 2028. And you can imagine that having this, infrastructure in our hands, we can provide a lot of things to our country and to the European, organizations as well, because we're going to have new telescopes, new stuff, etc.
Can I ask before I move to Mr. Georgiadis, and we've kept you waiting for a long time, but Mr. Monsieur Molina, for example, could there be a partnership between your institution and the National Observatory of Athens, so that you exchange scientists and help Krioneri become?
Yeah, for sure. We work on this field as well, and for optical communications, survey, sky survey, etc. We have a big initiative right now. You probably heard, and maybe you are part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're part of it. So there are already a lot of initiatives which are national and European, and in which we are having partnership with Greece, obviously. And this is a very intense field, and this is by nature very dual research. By nature, even if you don't do anything but defense, everything about we work, for instance, a lot in booster construction for vectors. It's dual by nature. who works on communications, new kind of communications, as well new knowledge about atmospheres, perturbations in order to how this affect the communication too. But there are a lot of aspects which are by nature duals, because when they are used by astronomic observation, they can be used as well for sky survey and protection.
Yeah, and mostly because, as was mentioned, I mean, this data is sent to the European Space Agency, so I suppose more than one country should collaborate on that. Now, Mr. Georgiadis, last but not least, tell us, how has your job changed in the past few years? I mean, how do we see the aerospace changing in order to meet the needs that are currently created in our reality?
So good morning on my side. First of all, I would like to say that it's a great pleasure to be to participate to this forum and to be among a nice panel that we have. I would like also to say that Thalès has a long-term presence in Greece. We are more than 50 years and with industrial presence since end of 90s. So I would dare to say that it's a heritage also for Greece, because I would say that we are cooperating with a vast amount of companies and institutions in the country, and it's in our DNA, the cooperation. If I may say a bit about our panel and what Thalès is doing in terms of dual use and innovation. Our innovation strategy is built on the recognition that emerging technologies offer, pioneered in the civilian sector, hold transformative potential for defense and security. Technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced sensors, and cybersecurity solutions initially developed for commercial or scientific purposes are now essential assets in national security and defense systems. If I can give a bit of examples, because it's part of our research and development domain, Thalès has more than 34,000 people dedicated in research and development. Out of them, 3,000 are experts in their domains. We have all in all 4 billion euros investment for defense, for research and innovation. 1.3 is our internal funding, self-funding. We are proud to say that we have 3 colleagues with Nobel Prize in Physics on 2007, 18, and 22. So we are a company really in innovation.
And what is currently your most popular product?
So I will have to go quite a lot in quite detailed, because frankly speaking, we are, you mentioned FDIs, we are on board of the FDI with either the radars, the sonars, the sonar suite, the communications, electronic warfare. The same is on the Rafale. 30% of the systems are coming from Thalès. So we are talking about the core of the mission system and the sensors are coming from Thalès. So yes, air surveillance, air defense, radio communications, space, observation satellites or military communication satellites. It's part of our global portfolio, and this is part of the defense, because we are a dual-use company. We have dual-use systems, so we do have systems also in civilian applications. Coming from probably you will have a smart card or a debit card on your pocket. Could be from Thalès, because we are manufacturing doing the ciphering of the chip. Regarding our product roadmap developments, it begins with deep engagement across a broad technology landscape. We're closely monitoring cutting-edge technologies. We are also very close to startups, academic institutions, and industry tends to identify emerging innovation with potential dual-use characteristics. What is also important to say is that Thalès is supporting worldwide 250 PhDs. So we're in very close cooperation with universities. We are cooperating in close cooperation with more than 20 high-level institutions, academic institutions across the globe. What else can I say?
How much has your work increased in the past, let's say, 4 or 5 years? Have you seen, I mean, a huge increase in demand or in revenue?
There is an increase on our demands. It's also, you can see it on the group's numbers, how they are increasing. Definitely, nowadays, defense is one of the drivers, but it's not only. For example, if I go in another domain, air traffic management is something which is after the COVID period is increasing again with new regulations, etc., that we need to follow up. So it's quite a lot. Also in digital cybersecurity, we have a lot of demands on SOC services. So we have our own SOCs that provide services remotely. Even in Greece, with Intel SLS, we have cybersecurity capabilities in-house that with CyberRange, so we can provide services in the country, build scenarios, create red, blue, force tracking, teamings, etc., and scenarios. So it's a lot of things that we do. Of course, in Greece, we benefit from knowledge from the group, but we develop our own capabilities. But generally, the group is a cross-domain collaboration, let's say, field with a lot of capabilities. For example, we have the Thalès Research and Technology, which is the core of research in our group. We know we cooperate with some institutions also in Greece, so it's a lot. And what I would like also to emphasize is that the cooperation on the EDFs. So Thalès is part of 79 EDFs so far. Out of them, 12 we are leading. And I can say that we have a deep cooperation also with the Greek ecosystem. We have more than 10 companies participating in different EDFs. We have done a lot of discussions also with the MOD, especially GDDIA. We explain what we are doing, etc. So they have a very deep knowledge of the status.
Thank you very much. Monsieur Molina, in the same vein as, what's your most popular product, and for you in the past year, ever since you consciously decided to focus on defense research as well, what's the most popular field? I mean, what's the $1 million question that you're trying to solve when it comes to defense?
Well, for sure, we already achieved many things, and actually I would just mention that we have LabCom with Naval Group and Thalès as well, and so that's a way we transform things, and which are basically inside the product that are sold by this kind of companies, and thank you very much. And my message as well here is maybe looking for having a partnership with Hellenic companies, but coming back to your question, today, the quantum technology are really coming strongly into many fields, not only in defense, but in many fields. And they are probably, the quantum computing is one side, and the quantum sensor is another side. And both are going to really make some big change in many fields, like artificial intelligence is doing. And if you combine both, probably there are new use which are coming up, new ways to think, new mindset as well. And so that's firsthand is how to combine all this, let's say, hard technology and digital technology together to control them, to use them properly, and to defend against them. That's one side. The other side, which is tremendous and is not obvious, is the population size and the population resilience. What's the point to have a defense if the nation do not want to defend? And so that's another big issue, probably the most difficult to handle right now. And
I mean, if they don't want to be defended, like so.
well, can I take an
opinion.
example, which is maybe, well, I don't know. I take it. Doesn't matter. But
Please.
What's happened to the states right now? The states reverse many alliances, and it's not only one person like the President Trump, which is doing so. If you remove President Trump, things won't change. Why? It's because since quite a long time has been a lot of adverse influence, which push the nation to think differently. And that's happened as well in Europe. All the nations are aware of that and try to fix that as well. And as you know, from abroad, we have a lot of intense influence coming up, not only commercial influence, in order to push our nation to have deception and say, oh no, I want my comfort, I don't want to defend. So what's the point to have plane, boats, if you don't have a nation which want to defend? And so that's another issue which is another domain than sensors, quantum computation, artificial intelligence, which is technical issues, and there are others, and these issues, which is about deception of nation. And none of them are more important. And that's about science as well, how to understand neuroscience, cognitive science. And actually, they are crossing up. We have a project with Naval Group on that. We are crossing up the cognitive science, how the people cope with the technology as well. And so both fields cross over as well. And so science has a lot of challenge ahead, and it's probably to be transformed into real application for our decision makers, for our technological constructors, etc. So for me, that's the most challenging field here. And I will finish with ecology, okay? Ecology looks like, okay, saving the planet is not the point right now because there are challenges over the world, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure because ecology will push crises, probably political, geopolitical destabilization, etc., etc. So all of them are connected. And so that's why we think globally the dual use and not only domain by domains.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Tzortzakis, what do you think that Greece needs in order to be ready to both deter any offenses and also, if need be, defend itself?
Yeah, that's the 1 million question. So we have to be strong in order to avoid to be in on any kind of war. That I think is the answer. Now, what we are doing, and we're doing actively from one side, I told you before that we're working very close with Six Branch and with GDF in order to pick up requirements, to see how these requirements could be translated eventually to product and all this kind of thing. On the other side, what we do, which is extremely important for me, we did a kind of cartography of all the Greek market. What I want to say by that, we went very focused on all the companies and all the research labs, and we told them, look, do you have any prototype product or service, and at what TRL level it is, and how do you get it? From EDF, from Horizon, from where? And what is your team? So with that process, we already have almost 600 companies and around 150 labs all over Greece that we have find what it's over there. Why? Because it's easy for us to do combination. It's easy for us to give fast solution and to speed up the process of business development. So I will give an example. We did a challenge. The challenge has to do what I'm going to do on a physical or war catastrophe. On that challenge, around 12 companies appeared. One of them was the winner, but according to our law, it gives us the possibility for me to call the project manager and tell him, look, you have 12 colors. Use the 12 colors and create this picture for me. So what was the picture? How am I going to pick up information from different sensors in order to have a real-time awareness and to create, let's say, the best shortest path algorithm and to create the necessary network, for example, in case that our network does not work due to physical catastrophe or to a war catastrophe. You have to have an alternative that you will give the 5G as, data interchange in order
Do we have it now in the country?
I mean, we signed the contract. In fact, we signed the contract. It has to be today or it's going to be tomorrow. We have all the approvals of the board of directors and all this kind of thing.
Great, we're making news.
Yeah, this is it will need around 1 year. So what we did, we found 2 companies. In fact, it was 2 spin-off companies from Thessaloniki, another spin-off company from Crete, some companies from Athens, and also National Technical University as academic advisor. And we hope that this group, it will create what we want. How we're going to proceed is going to be a kind of gradual approach. Okay, let's go step 1, step 2, step 3, and we'll see how things will move.
Okay, thank you so much. No, we're running out of time, so I'm moving to my last questions for you as well. Mr. Basilakos, what happens if the government changes or when the government changes? I mean, we're going to have elections probably next spring. So what happens to your work, because you're a public institution, when the government changes, especially when it comes to, projects that are as important as the ones that you were describing before?
Well, I hope that nothing will change. So to start with, we are a public research center. So we are having money. I mean, our money comes from 2 directions. We have the money which are coming from the public central budget, which is close to 4.5 million euros. But on top of that, we have a great ability to attract external funding from the international organizations, from Horizon, from Marie Curie projects, etc. So just to give you an example, for each euro that we get from the central budget, the added value is close to 4 euros. So I don't think that we are.
But I don't just mean in terms of money and funding. I mean in terms of scope.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the scope will be changed. So we have a strategy. I mean, we have a strategy as a research center. I think that also Greek authorities in general, have a strategy so I think that we are going to follow this path. But if you allow me, I would like to go back to the Franco-Hellenic cooperation, just to give you, some.
Briefly, if possible.
Yes, very, very brief. So indeed, France is a leading force in the European space strategy. And of course, CNRS, Thalès, and other research institutions are playing a key role in this business. Just to give you an example, the National Observatory of Athens and HELASAT, which is the national space operator of Greece, agreed with the French Space Agency. Actually, Secretary General mentioned that in his speech. Agreed with the French Space Agency and Thales Alenia Space to work in the direction on the development of an optical payload which will be installed onto the new Greek satellite, the so-called HELASAT 5, and thus to connect France with Cyprus and eventually with Greece using using optical communications. And I would like to emphasize actually that HELASAT 5 is going to be the largest geostatic European satellite, and we have the privilege of the National Observatory of Athens and the honor to be an active member in this synergy. So yes, I don't have time to provide more information, but this is very important for the National Observatory of Athens and in fact also for the other research institutes.
Absolutely.
to establish strong connection with French institutions and companies like Thalès and others. Yeah. And I think that we are in the right path at the moment.
It's what Mr. Tzortzakis mentioned before, to not just think European but also act European, put that in practice. Thank you very much. And please tell us, from your experience, where do you think that Greece needs to focus on in order to be better prepared in the near future?
It's a good question. But I think we as a company, as industry, we follow the requirements of the end user. So I would say that mainly is on the armed forces to give us a guideline of what is the future condoms they have, what are the difficulties they face, what they would like to do. So we can support them because technology is there. There is, as we said, a lot of innovation. We discussed about, about AI, quantum computing, quantum sensors, etc. But we as industry, we are part of the innovation, of the research. But our main challenge is to make something, a product, which is operating on the field. So to do that, we need to have the requirements from the operational needs, requirements of the end user. So the product that the guys will have on the field, they will be sure that it's functioning. It's not commercial. We say about dual use, commercial technology, etc. But on the field, it's not working always. And this is the most important
in what
topic.
Sense? What do you mean?
Because the standards are totally different. To make an idea, a commercial idea, to a defense product, you have to follow quite a lot of standards, let's say. And the standards are not made just to have standards. It's that you need to have a quality of product that when it's on the field, and the general can assure that, the environment is dirty in terms of electromagnetic. So it does mean that your mobile phone will be, because you have a mobile with an application, it will work on the battlefield with all the I would say electronic warfare activities that are happening.
Sure.
So it's not that simple. The roadmap is, and that's why I mentioned before in Thalès, we do have the technology, but there is a roadmap until this is applied to a product. For example, we're talking about AI. So we have in our field, and I will be more brief, but for example, we have an application which is for our future tactical radios. So what AI will do during, as I said, a dirty electromagnetic environment, you have a lot of noise. So the AI will help the device to clear up this kind of noise because it's learning on the.
But if the tech is ready, why not do it now?
Sorry,
if the technology is already ready, why not?
I said that
apply it now.
The idea is here.
Okay.
But to make it happen on the field, it takes a lot of time. It takes time,
Sure.
not a lot of time, but time, effort, and there is a roadmap to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
The same is for quantum sensing on the radars.
Yeah.
So, and I can give even AI for C4I systems, but it takes time to make something where always the man will be in the loop, because this is our motto. You cannot leave the man out of the loop, even if you have the AI. So all these things take time before you have something that you will give it to the armed forces to use it on the field.
Sure. Well, and with that, we're going to leave you. Thank you all very much for having been such great speakers, and thank you very much for attending this panel discussion as well. And to the next one. Thank you very much.